welcome to the Bonnie Newman podcast. I don't have like a name for it yet or anything like that. It's just like totally last minute. I knew we were meeting up.
Yeah.
But so this is Asha. Tell me about your business and like what you do and how we are meeting right now. And
I love this. Okay, so yes, I'm Asha. I am the owner and lead filmmaker of Bright Frame Films, and I guess lead filmmaker is kind of misleading because I'm technically the only filmmaker. It's a one-woman show, and yeah, I love getting to capture and create stories for people that just capture their most magnificent moments in life.
yeah, you're on Instagram, right?
Yes.
What's your Instagram?
Life of Bright Frame Films. I tried to do the separate Instagram thing for a while, and it just didn't. I found it's best to just merge it. I think that my business is also
Who you are.
me.
Yeah,
So I love to share everything.
Yeah, you're definitely. I think like you are your brand, especially like in this business when you're doing weddings. We definitely sell like half of what we sell is ourselves,
Yeah.
and the experience of like having a friend there, like an extra friend there that day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was a good move.
Yeah, it's super
For
important,
sure.
I think, to make that personal connection with your clients. And yeah, like you said, they're essentially hiring you and your personality. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess I have to introduce myself too.
Yes.
This is like nobody knows who I am. So I'm Bonnie Newman. I am the owner of Bonnie Newman Creative, and I also do wedding films. I'm also the solo like one woman show, filming and editing, and every now and then you reached out to me because you have a wedding over in Tampa. You're out of Orlando, right?
Yes. Yep.
And you have a wedding over in Tampa in a little bit, and you wanted a second shooter, and
That's
you reached out to me to second shoot for you, and I was like, yeah, totally. And then last minute, a couple days ago, I was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast with me? And you're like, okay, yeah, sure.
I love it. A coffee date turned into the beginning of something awesome. So,
Yeah, I'm excited. So like, how I totally want to like know all about you because I'm always excited to meet another female videographer because we're like few and far between.
It's true. It's true.
But yeah, how did you like get into film? Like what? Like yeah, where did you start? When was the first time you picked up a camera?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I was always one of those kids who like had a camera with me, a disposable camera, and then my mom bought me a camera with put the little film rolls in and like take it to Walmart and wait 3 days and come back and see what developed. So I always was taking pictures. I think I've always just loved story and being able to tell our stories and being able to document really the everyday. I mean, of course, the extraordinary moments, but also just like the ordinary moments. I love being able to just document life. And so I was always taking pictures, and I would always, annoy my friends and family probably by over taking pictures. But then when they'd get developed, everyone would be like, oh, that's such a great picture. I'm glad we have that, So
Yeah.
people, they secretly loved it. So yeah, just always loved story and telling stories. And so when I went to college, I went to the University of Florida, and I was a broadcast journalism major. So
Okay.
yeah,
So you kind of went to school for it then?
I wanted to be a news reporter, and so I worked in that field for 2 years, and just got to tell stories of really awesome things happening in the community where I was working. I worked in North Carolina, and that was great. It was almost like grad school. I got real, in the field experience.
Lots of working.
Yes,
I'm sure.
I was also a one-woman show as a reporter. I mean,
Yeah.
most reporters are. So we're setting up our own camera.
Oh,
doing
really?
all
I didn't
our
know
stuff.
that.
Yeah, we're on our own, driving to these stories, and we do all the camera work, all the writing of our scripts, the editing, everything. So, so kind of refined my storytelling skills. And I got to do some really, really cool things. But unfortunately, the majority of it was like all
I've
the bad
heard-
TV news stuff, just the kind of doom and gloom. And I found myself going to the stories that I was having to cover and not wanting to put a camera in their face, but like wanting to hug them, and pray with them. And
I got really annoyed at when all these hurricanes were going on, and you see the reporters that are like out in the field, and someone's like literally drowning in their car, and then they get rescued, and then they have a camera in their face, what would you have done if you didn't get like get out of
It's
their
tough,
face. And
yeah.
I don't know if I could ever do something like that.
It's such a weird balance because, you know, I think that their jobs are so important and being able to cover and let us know what's going on in the world. But then, yeah, it's really a fine line. So after 2 years of doing that, kind of knew, like, I that wasn't going to be my forever, you know.
Yeah.
So I started thinking, like, what am I going to do with my life? I felt like I had a very specific set of skills that I was afraid wouldn't be able to translate. You know, it's like, what else can I do but be a news reporter? So did a lot of soul searching, a lot of praying, a lot of talking to people who know and love me best and getting advice. You know, I'm like, what do you think I would be good at? So I had just gotten married myself a couple months before I started thinking about this and thought, well, what about wedding videos? You know, like,
Yeah.
is that a thing? And this was about almost 6 years ago now that I started thinking about this, and they weren't really
Yeah.
like, it was still kind of the old school style of wedding video where it was like Uncle Charlie with a big camera on his shoulder,
Yeah,
you know, it
yeah.
was very, very different. So I was like, well, what about like little wedding movies? And in the news world, we call the stories packages. So I almost thought about like putting together like a package for a wedding, you know, like telling the story of the wedding day. So I just kind of sat on that for a little bit, and then a couple weeks later on Facebook, one of my friends posted like, hey, getting married and wondering if anybody knows of a good inexpensive wedding videographer or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, So I sent her a message on Facebook and just said, you can totally deny this if you want, but I'm thinking about starting a business, and would you want to be my guinea pig?
Yeah.
And so I just said, I will basically do your wedding for free, and if you'll let me see if I even like it. You know, I didn't even know if I was going to like it or be good at it or anything like that. So I bought my equipment and did that wedding. That was November 2012. And once I edited it and posted it on Facebook, I booked 7 more weddings, like right away. It was just like
that's awesome.
the doors opened.
I was going to ask you kind of like where you got your foot in the door, and like my story is like very, very similar. I as far as like when I decided to start doing weddings, I basically had a friend that I was trying to get back into videography and film, and I was like, yeah, can I do your wedding? Like, I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
And, you know, let me just experiment with it. And, you know, I loved it. She loved it, posted it online, and then had strangers messaging me like, how much do you charge? And I was like, I don't know, $500. Like, so definitely, like, that's a good place to start. And I was going to ask you that, like, how did you start off like doing, you know, something for free, and then like getting your foot in the door and slowly like working your prices up and up? And
the pricing has always been my toughest. I don't know, that part of the business has always been toughest for me, like setting pricing, because it's like, how do you put a price on yourself? You know, it's like, it's weird. It's a really weird thing. Thankfully, my husband is super smart and business savvy, and he's really good at that. But I remember I charged $500 for my very first wedding, and then set my prices and had a package that was like $1,200 was my highest package. And I was just blown away when somebody paid that. I was like, are you sure? Like, oh my goodness.
I felt bad, like, asking, like, I used to take payment, like, the day of it. I'd be like, I'm really sorry, but I need you to pay me money. Like, embarrassed to ask.
I feel like still 5 years in, I am learning something new every day. Either about business stuff, like equipment or sales tax, or how to interact with clients best, or content. Like, I learn new things every day.
Yeah, that's great. I think, like, you always have to keep learning for sure if you want to keep your business going and growing and keeping up with, like, today and that kind of thing. So I guess, do you have plans to, like, expand your business or, like, grow or anything like that? Are you like it, like the one lady show?
I kind of like the one woman show. I'm kind of actually in an interesting season with my business. Kind of transitioning a little bit away from weddings and more wanting to focus on like small business branding films, as well as legacy films, which is basically like sitting down and interviewing parents or grandparents and just kind of hearing their stories.
Ooh,
and
that's
then,
interesting.
And birth stories as well. So not like the weird birth video you saw in middle school science, but like really precious, just those first moments with you and your newborn baby. So I've done a couple of those and just wish I could do those every day.
Yeah.
So kind of transitioning a little bit, but I think I don't know. I think as a small business owner, especially when it is kind of a one-woman show, like as life changes and you change, it's just always a state of transition, I think. Like,
Yeah,
okay, what fits best right now?
Right, yeah, that's true for sure. I'm like in this weird stage of like not being sure if I want to expand or not.
Yeah.
Like I like being a one person show, and I like being in control of I'm kind of a control freak when it comes to like my work.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people want, is they like how it's a super small business, like one person. They like I like the clientele that I have from it, and I'm not sure it would be the same if I had like little people working everywhere for me, and it's not the same like experience that I want to give my clients. But at the same time, I also want to like grow and expand my company, and maybe it's not even weddings, like maybe it's like you said, like reaching out into different like legacy films. I've never even heard of that. That's such a cool I think that's such a neat idea.
I love story, like just going back to that, I think that our stories are, at the end of the day, that's all we have, like our life story that's all we have to influence people or help somebody. Like our stories are for us, but they're also for other people to like encourage people who are coming behind us.
Yeah, that's I think that's awesome, and that's a good way to like keep the legacy going of people. Like I don't know, that's just something about that fascinates me. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah.
I've only done one so far.
Yeah.
It's very
if you're
new,
looking for a
I'm
legacy
hoping-
film, this is your girl right here. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So do you work from home? Are you like a solo? Does your husband work from home, or is he?
He is kind of in the corporate 9-to-5 world, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, he works from home a couple days a week just because everything he does is online, so he can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
But he pretty much goes into an office.
Okay,
so,
cool. Yeah, I was gonna ask you because like I'm also going through something too, like real life struggles. Being a solo entrepreneur, working from home by myself. Like, do you ever kind of like feel the grind or like the loneliness from that, or like the boredom sometimes, or you like it?
I like it. I describe myself as an extroverted introvert because I love people. I love meeting new people.
I think a lot of
talking,
creative people would describe themselves the same way.
But then the way that I recharge is definitely by being alone. Love my quiet time. So I think that part is okay. Sometimes I do get bored. I think the part of working from home that's tough for me is that you can never fully leave work and you can never fully leave housework. You know what it is? So it's like, even when I'm not working on editing, it's right over there. So I still am thinking about it and like could be editing. And then when I'm working and editing, it's like, oh, the dishes are right there and I really need to do those, or like I really need to do that laundry. So when I was in the early days of my business, I used to not get any editing done during the day because I would just be so,
I'm there too. Yeah.
and so then I would end up editing from like 11 o'clock at night to 3 in the morning, and that just wasn't great. So I had to kind of set some boundaries as far as like, okay, this is editing time, this is house time,
Yeah, I need to do that for sure because I'm in the same, like I'm in that boat where my sleep schedule's all messed up. You messaged me the other morning at like 6:40 and I was like, who is texting me right now? But like I wake up at, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the afternoon and then I don't go to bed until like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Because I wake up and I do house stuff or I'll try to get like not the editing, like all the other stuff
exactly.
That you have to do when you're a business owner, like answering email. I know when I go home today, I have to like renew my liability insurance, random crap like that, just every single day.
It takes up so much time.
Yeah, and then by like the time it's 7 o'clock, I eat dinner. I'll go like work out or something. I'll get home. It's 10 o'clock, and then I start editing. It's like. But it's hard to like get out of that loop. Or I mean, it might work for you too. Like, It just depends on who you are for sure. But I'm also, and I want to know if anyone else, like, if you're listening to this, and like, feel free to start a conversation about it. But there's a lot of talk about Gary Vee talks about it a lot. I don't know if you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. He's like a solo, or he's a entrepreneur, motivator, like motivational speaker guy. but he's been mentioning a lot about people that work from home or solo entrepreneurs that there's a lot of like depression and like loneliness that goes on.
Yeah.
And especially like right now I'm living in a house by myself, and so I find it to be a little like daunting sometimes, where I wake up in the morning, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna like sit here by myself today.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if anyone out there is having the same kind of struggle and has a solution for that, or like I'm starting to just like come to places like this
Right,
and work, or I also know that it's not as popular in Tampa as it is in some other places, but like co-working spaces.
I was just going to say that kind of like creative workspaces where you may not be working together, you may not really even know each other, but yeah, like
Yes.
being able to work with people, that it does make a big difference. And I think working alone, you feel that burden of like everything is on me. Like you don't have to, you don't share so it's like you're the person in charge of emails, you're the social media coordinator, you're the accountant,
Right.
you're the editor, you're the like in charge of buying new equipment, like
Right.
it's all on you. So yeah,
And
I have a dog.
I have a
And
cat.
so, yeah, I think that my crazy hound dog, Maxwell, really does keep me company throughout the day. Like, it's,
Yeah.
it's huge.
You can
Yeah.
like bounce ideas off of him and be
Yeah.
like, Maxwell, look what I did. Like,
Oh.
look at
Oh,
this new
he's-
like transition I found.
He's very interested. He loves it. He gives me lots of advice.
Yeah, pets are great. I don't know what I would do without having like a pet there.
Right. It's just like another warm body. Like like
soul.
a life. Yeah. You're like, okay, I'm
Little
not
soul
alone.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely good to have something. But I'm in the process now of like to the point where I'm in contact with somebody that has like a film studio. I'm like, I really want to work in an environment where I can like bounce ideas off of someone. Like this guy's got like a giant green screen in the studio that I could use for doing this kind of stuff, or like just he's in the same like realm as me. So being able to bounce ideas off of somebody I think is really important. So if you are working at home by yourself, like definitely need to like put yourself out there, get in touch with people that do the same, like-minded people, and even if it's like once a week and you sit
Right,
down,
right.
like what we're doing right now,
Yeah,
like this is what I'll feed off of for like the next week, which is great. But yeah, for sure, I think it's definitely a conversation that a lot of people need to get started about solo entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and like the struggles, because people don't see it, or
Right.
they think it's just like all like you're hustling and working and
Right,
like
right.
but there's a little bit of struggle there for sure. Do you have any like funny stories from like weddings that you've done, like absolutely ridiculous things?
Gosh, I have an embarrassing story of like just shows my ignorance about the Star Wars, Star Trek realm.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear it.
I had one couple who, instead of groomsmen, the groom hired stormtroopers to be his groomsmen. Like,
No way.
And I had to change what I was going to say. People dressed as stormtroopers, because I mean they were like official
They were legit.
costume. Like he hired them. They had everything was to specification, like for the movie. And they were like, oh, how should we pose? Like, you know, when you're hanging out with the photographer, you're just following around doing all the pictures and video and stuff. And they were like, oh, what should we do? Like, how should we pose? And I held up I was like, oh, do this. Like the Star Trek sign.
Oh no.
And I thought they were going to punch me in the face. They were like, just like a blank stare. Not even funny. And I was like,
They were
oh,
like,
that's
"You're
the
fired."
wrong star, isn't it? I was like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not that dumb. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Other than that, I don't know. I've had the best clients. Like,
Yeah.
so real.
Yeah,
They've
everything
been-
I have to like complain about is nothing to do with clients. It's about like vendors.
Yeah, I know.
It's other
That's-
vendors.
Yeah, working with a huge team can sometimes be challenging for sure. But,
Yeah.
oh gosh, I'm not prepared for funny stories.
Oh no, it's okay.
But, yeah.
I don't have any either. Like knock on wood. I have like haven't had anything like too ridiculously crazy.
Yeah.
The one wedding I did, and like the couples can attest to this. I had a Disney themed wedding one
Okay.
time, and it was a same sex wedding, and these girls like they just went all out. Like they hired choreographer or dancers.
Nice.
And like during their first dance, they were doing like the regular slow dance, and then the DJ like messed up, and like one of them got mad at him, and then like the music changed. Like it was all like an act.
Yeah.
And then the music changed, and then these like flash mob dancers like that were posed as guests like came out and started dancing. But I have never had to plan a wedding. Like I literally had floor plans of like where me and I had to hire a second shooter, like where we were gonna be,
Wow.
at what time.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just, and everything about that wedding was like, it was a beautiful wedding.
Yeah.
But it was super complicated.
Yeah.
And like even the ceremony, they both walked down the side aisles at the same time, and like it was just, that was like probably one of my most stressful weddings, just because of how complex it was.
Right,
But,
all the logistics.
logistics and that kind of thing. But yeah, that was another time I had to hire a second shooter. Usually I'm by myself, and it's always a luxury to have somebody else.
It is. For the first couple of years of my business, I didn't even know that like having a second shooter was a thing. You know, I just was like,
That's okay.
Here I am, and I'm going to do this all on my own. And then I remember the first time I had someone with me, I was like, oh, this is magical. This is like so nice to not have to worry about like if I need to go pee and the DJ like does something without me, you know, he doesn't realize that I'm not there and start something like, hey, somebody else is there to like capture it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is nice. And just have someone to chat with, because the receptions get really long and you can only get so much dance floor footage, you know?
Yeah, that's a struggle that I'm starting to like get it in check, but for a long time I'd get home and I'd have like two solid hours of footage of dancing, and I'm just like, I literally need 30 seconds of
Sometimes
this.
you really just have to pretend to be filming people on the dance floor. Like, you know, because you always have those one guests that are like, hey, get me. And I'm like, yeah, you're looking good. Like, focusing, not recording. Like, no, not recording that. So.
That's a great idea. I have not done that. I'm going to do that, but that's freaking fun.
But yeah, having a second shooter to like, just someone to chat with, like, you know, and usually I feel like I've also just been so grateful to have such great teams on the wedding day, like the planners and the photographers. So having someone to chat with during the reception and just having that like camaraderie, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I'm excited to second shoot for you.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have a good time.
I do too.
And then I guess like the last thing I wanted to talk about, the kind of obvious thing, is like, we're both ladies. And I know that the videography industry seems to be like male dominated.
Yeah.
Do you have a theory to that, or like do you like being a woman in like this male dominated industry, or?
Yeah, I think that guys really like gear.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
they don't get
I feel
it.
like guys love like the new cameras and the drones and the stabilizers, and I think there are some amazing storytellers that are men, like absolutely they're fantastic. But I think the guys really like the gear, and like I don't know, I think that photography and pictures will never go out of style. I mean, pictures are timeless. You need photos, of course. But I think video is just something super cool that like people who are kind of creative are starting to dabble with, because it does capture things in such a different way. So I don't know why so many guys are like picking it up, because it seems like photography is more female
Yes,
dominated.
definitely.
Yeah, but then video is more, and I feel like it might be the gear. Like, just
I
like,
do too.
they're not as like intimidated by all the gear. I don't know, and I could totally be speaking for myself, but
No,
I am not like a gearhead. You know,
Right.
like I am intimidated by gear. I have a very simple setup. I have my camera, my monopod, my like I have a very simple setup, and it's because I'm like, I don't know what all this other stuff is. You know, I don't know what all this other gear is.
Yeah, and I kind of, that's kind of my theory as well, is I think that a lot of women are intimidated by all the equipment that they see other videographers using, or that they start doing research on how to do video, and it's like you need all this crap, and like you need all these computer programs, and like you have to learn like Final Cut or whatever. It's not Photoshop, and I think a lot of people are intimidated by that, whereas guys are like, I want to learn, like I want to be on the computer and like learn the tech stuff.
And I know a lot of husband-wife teams who are videographers, and so those ladies are super talented storytellers as well. But it does seem like in those husband-wife teams, the guy is usually the one kind of in charge of like the equipment, and then the woman is more of the storyteller, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, but I'm excited. I hope like a lot more ladies get into the video thing, because I do think it's the future. Like, so I'm starting to book weddings now where people don't necessarily have the budget for both video and photos, so they're just getting video. I've got 2 weddings this season that there's no photographer.
Oh my goodness.
And I definitely think, like, I do think photography will always have its place, but I also think as technology, like iPhone 10, the camera, like, we don't want to think that, like, cameras can take the same pictures as professional photographers can, but I kind of think that they can. I think there'll be a point where, like, they're gonna be pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So, but video is completely different. Like, you have to edit a video together. You have to story tell a video. You have to, like, select the right music, and, like, there's so much more to it. And so, yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of photographers out there that are maybe starting to see that and, like, trying to switch and, like, learn. And a lot of those are going to be women. So that's my kind of, like, goal with this, is, like, I want to start educating people on how to do video and how to do weddings and that kind of thing. My ultimate goal, I would love to shoot, like, movies. Like, I love weddings. I love shooting weddings, and I love, like, meeting new people and, like, the brides, and I've made so many new friends. It's definitely, like, I think it's got a shelf life for me, and I think, like, at some point I'd love to do, like, documentaries and films and script write and, like, that kind of thing. But for now, and then maybe once I get to that point, I can do, like, educating on, like, wedding videography. But
how did you make the switch? Because I know you have an architecture background.
Yeah, so like my personal story. So I do want to share the story of when I first picked up a video camera, because I think it's kind of funny. But I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. I was in 4th grade, and there was a hurricane coming, and my dad just got, like, one of those, like giant over the shoulder where the zoom is, like, up here, and he wanted to document the house with video for insurance, like, in case the house, like, got destroyed. And so he did it, and it was just so shaky and awful. And my mom was like, "You might as well let Bonnie do it. Like, she'll probably do a better job." And I totally did. I was like, that was the first time I picked up a video camera.
The camera was probably, like, as big as you. Like, I imagine this little, like, 9-year-old, like.
Yep, it pretty much was. It was, like, giant, and that was. And then shortly after that, we took a family trip to San Francisco. My dad brought the camera along, and, like, I just played with it the whole time and got video of the whole trip. And then after that, it, like, took off. And I remember me and my best friend Landy. She
shout out to Landy.
Hey Landy. We would go all out. We would, like, be in her room, like, writing scripts and, like, drawing storylines and plot twists, like, storyboards on her chalkboard in her bedroom. And we did, like, one where it was, like, a horror story about Beanie Babies, like, taking over the world. And, like, at the end of it, it was, like, her buried under, like, a pile, like, a stop motion of, like, Beanie Babies, like, attacking her.
That's awesome.
That's, like, where I got started. And then I did 4 years of TV production in high school, and then was thinking about going to Full Sail, and then it was kind of expensive, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to go to community college for now. And then I just kind of fell into architecture. Like, that's what I decided to pick up, and I loved it, and it was really creative. And I ended up using my video skills in school too. Like, when I did my thesis project, I did my thesis in architecture on the architect's role in an apocalyptic scenario.
Wow.
So, like, after the world ends, like, what is the architect's job and role to, like, rebuild? It's really, really out there.
Yeah.
So I used video to, like, story tell my thesis and, like, get people into the presentation before I started talking. But once I got into the real world, I was in a firm for about 1.5 years, and I just wasn't creative. Like, in school, you use a lot of your creativity and talent, and then in the real world, it just was, like, so much politics and, like, drama. And I did my friend's wedding, and it just, like, kind of took off. And I quit my job in January of this year.
Oh, wow.
So been doing it full time since then, and it's just been, like, an awesome ride so far. But yeah, that was my first time I ever picked up a video
That's
camera.
great. That is hilarious. And I'm sure the insurance company was like, wow.
I don't even think anything happened. They never saw it.
Good. Well, perfect.
That videotape is still somewhere in my house too. So in case you ever need it, hopefully not. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm really glad that I got to meet you, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks for like coming on my like first official podcast videocast thing.
Do you watch Big Bang Theory?
Occasionally.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel as if we're on Sheldon Cooper's Fun with Flags. He does like his own little YouTube channel, and so this is what I feel like. So I've been trying to channel like just how to be really poised and funny. So.
Oh my God! Don't be poised. We're relaxing. We're just chilling. You know, like. That's what I just wanted to be like so super casual, but we'll have you on again for sure because like I want to start getting like really depthy conversations about like specific things, and I always want somebody else on the show. So, but yeah. So also we're at Foundation Coffee drinking. I'm drinking coffee. You've got yogurt with granola. But yeah, if you're looking for a cool place to hang out, if you're a solopreneur like me and you need a place to work, Foundation Coffee Tampa Heights is really great. I love the atmosphere here. There's indoors too, in case you're really hot and sweaty like me. But yeah, so we'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, bye, Asha.
Bye.
Oh, Asha's with Bright Frame Films, right?
Yeah, that's
okay. I have to think really hard when I say that. Bright Frame Films.
Yes, the way I came up with the names are super important to me. Like I feel like
Yeah.
a person's name. I don't know. I just feel like there's a name has a lot in it.
Yeah.
And so it took me forever to name my business because I just like put so much pressure on it,
Yeah.
So my thinking is that like our lives are a movie, and each second or each moment is a frame in our film reel, basically.
Right.
And so I'm capturing the brightest frames of people's lives.
Aw,
So,
I love that. That's like since we're on the topic. Yeah, I thought for a while too about what to name my company, and then I was like, I'm just gonna name my name.
I think that's so great because, like we said, like circling back to the beginning, your company is you. So
Yes,
yeah,
you're. I think in a creative industry, especially like video, photo, those kind of medias, like you are your brand.
Yeah.
And it's important to show, like, if you don't like the way that, like, you should like the way your stuff looks. Like,
Yeah.
you should be into the style of what you make, and it's not just like, oh, I picked this brand, but actually I really like my brand is black and white, but I really love colorful stuff. Like, you need to be synergistic, I think. But I also named my company as a strategy because I thought if I was going to expand my company and I was going to have like other people shooting for me,
Right.
I want to seem very like I ultimately would love to be charging more. Like, oh, you want Bonnie to film your wedding? It's an extra like $500, extra like $1,000. Like
I know companies
exclusivity.
do that. It's like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, and I got that idea from I don't know if you know who Ray Roman is.
Yes, I did one of his workshops in Miami.
Oh,
yeah,
recently, that was recently, right, or a couple months
a
ago?
couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
I think he like kind of.
I think he lives in South Florida,
Okay,
so
yeah.
he probably does a couple of them.
Yeah.
He's awesome, and I know somebody that knows him. I would love to reach out to him and chat with him, but he did a creative live course online, and that was one of the things that he like talked about was. It was a strategy he had in the very beginning, and like literally no one else was filming for him, but he was just like, I'm just gonna try this and throw it up online, but if you want Ray Roman as
Right.
and he was like, people were paying an extra
Wow.
$1,000 or whatever it was he was charging to have him there, even though he would have been there anyway.
If you're one of his former brides, you're probably watching this. If
Oh,
you're watching this in a former bride.
Whatever,
Yeah, his clientele is pretty up there for sure.
Yeah. Life goals.
Funny.
But anyway, it was really great meeting with you. You have to go to a baby shower, so.
I do.
So thanks for taking on the podcast. Hopefully I'll be putting these up every week, probably on Mondays or Tuesdays, and definitely come back and check out more of the Bonnie Newman podcast. Name unnamed yet. If you have any ideas, let me know. All right, bye. Hey, Creative Fam. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. If you liked it and got anything out of it, I would appreciate it so much if you gave it a 5-star rating and subscribed. I'll see you soon.